Welcome back to the deep dive. So you've sent in your source materials, and well, our mission, as always, is to give you the clearest shortcut we can to the really profound ideas inside them.
And today, yeah, it's a big one. We're tackling non-duality, drawing mainly from these sources you sent called Dreams, Dreamers, and Awakening.
It's definitely more than just, armchair philosophy. It's aiming for a really radical reframe.
Absolutely. We're looking at this core idea that our suffering, that feeling of being separate, maybe incomplete. It's not a bug. It's not a flaw in the universe.
Right. The sources argue it's actually the whole point, the intentional core of some kind of cosmic game.
Yeah, the pain of separation is the feature, which, I mean, that kind of flips everything on its head, doesn't it?
It really does.
Well,
So we have to rethink what bug even means here. The thesis we're unpacking suggests the system is working perfectly. The apparent flaw is the feature.
and we're diving into how we forget this, why we forget this central truth.
And to make this super abstract idea feel a bit more grounded, we're starting with something painfully relatable.
The ultimate spiritual litmus test.
Exactly, what we're calling the stub toe test.
Right. Okay. Paint the picture.
It's 3 a.m., pitch black. You're, maybe creeping to the kitchen for water, feeling all serene, a being of light in a meat suit, kind of intellectually agreeing with universal consciousness.
Uh-huh. We've all been there.
And then bam,
Yeah.
your little toe connects violently with the corner of the bed frame.
Oof. Yeah. The pain is immediate. It's intense. And it feels incredibly personal.
Totally. And in that split second, all those lofty spiritual insights from your meditation session, gone. Poof.
Vanished. No more flow state. No connection. Just throbbing.
Complete ego retrieval system online.
Right.
All that's left is the agony, the cold floor beneath you, and that inner voice just screaming, why me? Why does this always happen to me?
And right there, in that moment of just raw personal frustration, that's the core theme of the source material, isn't it?
Exactly. You've instantly forgotten the central idea
Mm.
that you are, metaphorically speaking, God playing hide and seek with itself.
And the intensity of that localized, personalized suffering, it's proof that the forgetting mechanism, the whole setup of separation, is incredibly good at its job.
So let's trace this back. How did this whole mechanism even start? We'll look at the origins of the universe differently than you expect.
Yeah, and how the illusion keeps itself going, the ego's role in that, its little magic tricks.
And why we keep falling for the same stories, the same narratives, even when maybe deep down we kind of know the script already.
Yeah.
Okay, so to understand the stub toe drama, we got to go way back, like the beginning of everything back.
Right. We usually think cosmologically, Big Bang, massive physical explosions, space, time, all that.
But these sources, they offer a different origin story. They call it the big thought.
Not a thought about something specific,
Yeah.
just thinking itself, pure consciousness.
So the origin isn't matter, it's mind. Sort of tiny disturbance in nothingness.
Kind of. Imagine absolute stillness, perfect void, and then just a flicker, an internal huh. A moment of self-awareness arising from nothing.
And that first flicker, that spark of curiosity, it created a wrinkle.
Exactly. And the material suggests this wrinkle could have just dissolved right back into the void. But it didn't. It got interested, curious about itself.
And that initial curiosity, that slight wobble in the stillness, is still echoing.
That's the idea. It's still reverberating through all of existence.
And the different ways that echo sounds, the harmonics,
Hmm.
that's what creates the illusion of separation, the feeling of a you and an I.
Yeah, when underneath, as the Course has put it quite poetically, there's only thising, just one continuous process appearing as fragments.
Okay, so this sounds very metaphysical, but you're saying there are links to science here.
There are. The sources definitely connect this to some deep questions in modern physics. Think about physicists drilling down, past atoms, past quarks, searching for the fundamental stuff of reality, down to the Planck length.
The smallest possible scale, right? And what do they find?
Well, it gets tricky. It's not like they find tiny little marbles. It's more like nothingness, but not empty space, an abscess that somehow precedes presence, the silence before the note.
Which wouldn't fit a purely materialist view, would it? If everything was just tiny bits of stuff.
Exactly. If reality was fundamentally just tiny, hard, independent bits, that finding wouldn't make much sense. But if the universe arises from a disturbance in pure potential, in nothing, finding that absence at the base makes a lot more sense. It aligns.
And Heisenberg's uncertainty principle fits in here too.
It does. The fact that the observer affects the observed, The act of looking changes what's there. Why would that be if reality was just out there, separate from us?
Our attention shouldn't matter in a purely objective world.
Right. But if consciousness is the fundamental substrate, then observing is just consciousness focusing on itself, changing the appearance of its own content.
So consciousness is kind of hallucinating matter to play its own game. The world isn't just waiting to be seen, it's created in the seeing,
That's the provocative idea here. It's all arising together.
which sounds very circular. Which leads us to someone like Ramana Maharshi.
Ah, yes. The sage who spent years just relentlessly asking, who am I?
He wasn't after a personality profile, was he?
No. He was trying to locate the actual entity, the stable thing that was doing the asking, the questioner itself.
And what did he find, or not find?
He found that the questioner and the thing being questioned, they weren't separate. It was the same energy, the same awareness turning back, looking at itself.
The sources mention the Ouroboros symbol here, the snake eating its own tail. They call it a documentary.
Which is a great way to put it. It's documenting that very process of inquiry. When consciousness tries to find its source, the search itself dissolves the perceived separation.
It's a self-consuming loop.
Exactly. And the loop reveals the underlying unity. The big discovery isn't finding an answer like I am Bob or I am consciousness. It's realizing the search itself was the whole point, designed to reveal the wholeness that was already there.
Okay, so if the ground reality is this single, unified this-ing, how does the dream, the illusion of separation, feel so incredibly solid, so convincing?
Well, that's the master trick. It's what the sources called the subject-object split.
The magic trick where awareness forgets. It's both the magician and the audience watching the trick.
Precisely. It's the instantaneous creation of boundaries where, fundamentally, none exist.
And you're saying we can kind of feel this out for ourselves right now?
You can try. Listener, try right now to find the exact dividing line between your sense of you, your awareness, and, say, the sound of my voice or the words you're processing.
Where's the seam?
You won't find a clean one, will you? There's just this seamless, continuous knowing, the awareness of the words, the sounds, it's all happening in the same space.
But my mind immediately goes, okay, that's me listening and that's the podcast out there.
Exactly. The ego jumps in instantly and after the fact and draws those lines. Me, the listener, not me. The external sound, the screen, whatever. That division solidifies the feeling of being separate. The dream needs those lines to work.
This sounds a lot like some concepts in Buddhism.
Mm.
You mentioned pratyasamutpana, dependent origination.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, but it's a really core idea. Let's unpack it.
Please.
It basically means nothing exists on its own, independently. We tend to see the world as, a collection of separate nouns, a cup, a microphone, a person.
Right, stable objects.
But dependent origination says everything is just a temporary pattern, a knot in this vast web of interconnected causes and conditions. If you tweak one part of the web, everything else shifts, subtly or dramatically.
Well, so we're not really nouns, like
Yeah.
fixed beings having experiences.
More like verbs. We're experiencing that's temporarily pretending or appearing to be a stable being. It's a process that feels like a substance, always in flux, always dependent on everything else.
Okay. And the sources bring in modern cognitive science too. Donald Hoffman.
Right, Hoffman's interface theory. His idea is that what we perceive isn't raw reality, but more like a desktop interface on a computer. Icons, folders.
Designed to simplify things and help us survive, not necessarily show us the truth of the underlying circuits and code.
Exactly. It hides the complexity. Now, Hoffman's right that we see an interface, but these sources argue he doesn't go quite far enough.
How so?
The deeper perspective here is that the interface, that's all there is. There isn't some hidden real reality behind the icons. The screen, the pixels, the hand moving the mouse, the cursor, it's all part of the same display. It's all the content of the one awareness.
Wow. Okay, but something needs to keep this whole show running, right? Maintain the illusion.
And that's where the ego comes in. Often gets a bad rap in spiritual circles, the ego.
Yeah, seen as the enemy sometimes.
But here, it's understood differently. More like a necessary, maybe even beautiful, though, tragic defense mechanism. Its entire job requires separation to function.
Like the bouncer at the club of me.
Perfect analogy. Checking IDs, maintaining that velvet rope between me and everything else. Without that rope, who feels slighted? Who gets angry in traffic? There's no you to be offended if there's no boundary.
And to make that me feel real, solid, continuous, It needs a story.
Absolutely. The ego is a master storyteller. It takes the raw chaos of sensation, just pure happening, and weaves it into a coherent narrative with a plot, characters, stakes, making sense of it all.
And its favorite plot device.
Causation, definitely. This happened because of that. If I do X, then Y will happen. It loves cause and effect.
It gives a sense of order, control.
Exactly. Control and predictability. And time. Time is the ego's best friend. It's dealer, you could say. Time provides the structure, the linearity that makes the story feel solid, inevitable, and totally real.
So the ego hates randomness, paradox, things that don't fit the neat cause and effect story.
Hates them because they threaten the narrative of a central, controlling me who understands and directs the plot.
Okay, so intellectually, maybe we can grasp some of this. I am the dreamer. Separation is an illusion.
Right. You read the books, you do the meditation, you feel like you've got a handle on the metaphysics.
And then life happens. The
Yeah.
dream throws a curveball.
Yeah. The stuff that really hits home. A sudden loss, a job disappearing overnight, your body acting up with chronic pain, global pandemic. Something undeniable happens.
And that smooth feeling of, I create my reality with my thoughts, just evaporates, glitches out completely.
Instantly. The emergency protocols kick in, find someone or something to blame, build the why me story, scramble to regain a sense of control.
Suddenly, you're not the sovereign dreamer anymore. You're the victim, tossed around by external forces.
That's the ego rushing back to rebuild its walls, reinforce its boundaries. Its survival depends on it.
And there's a term for when we try to use these big spiritual ideas to kind of sidestep that raw feeling, right? Trugim Trungpa's idea.
Spiritual materialism, yes. It's a really key concept
How
here.
does that work?
It's using these potentially liberating concepts, non-duality, impermanence, illusion, as a way to protect the ego, essentially, to avoid feeling uncomfortable emotions.
Like someone facing real grief saying, oh, well, pain is just an illusion anyway, or it was my attachment that caused this, my fault.
Exactly. Using a profound truth as a shield against the actual localized, very human experience of pain or loss, it's a defense mechanism disguised as enlightenment.
But hang on. If the services are saying suffering is optional, that it's the story about the pain, isn't saying pain is an illusion, just pointing to that mechanism. Where is the line? That feels tricky.
It is tricky, and it's a crucial distinction. Spiritual materialism is using the concept to suppress or bypass the feeling. It's like telling yourself, I shouldn't feel this because you have an intellectual framework that says the feeling isn't ultimately real.
Okay.
Recognizing the mechanism, on the other hand, involves fully allowing the feeling, the raw pain, the grief, the anger to be there without adding the extra layer of judgment that says it shouldn't be there or that you're somehow flawed or unenlightened for feeling it.
So one is fighting the feeling with the concept. The other is holding the feeling with an awareness, noticing the story without necessarily buying into it.
Precisely. Allowing the painting without automatically activating the poor me, the sufferer narrative. It's subtle but huge.
Got it. That makes more sense. Okay, but now for the really out there part, the genuinely psychedelic part, as the source calls it.
Right. This is where it gets really twisty. Even the resistance,
Yeah.
even the forgetting, even the ego's desperate scramble to blame and control, that's also you.
Wait, so I'm the one generating the resistance to the idea that I'm the dreamer.
You got it. You are practicing incredibly elaborate, advanced level self-deception. It's part of the game.
So that impossible boundary, I feel.
Yeah.
That difficult person at work who just won't see sense.
That's you, wearing a very convincing mask of otherness. You've manifested an obstacle so perfectly resistant, so seemingly external, that it fools even you, the manifester.
It passes the reality test because you designed it to be that convincing.
Exactly. So the narrative shifts from, I'm bad at manifesting, or the universe is against me, to, wow, I am amazing at manifesting resistance. I'm incredible at making things feel completely separate and external.
The source calls this advanced level dreaming.
Yeah. You didn't just dream up a fluffy cloud. You dreamed up a brick wall that feels utterly solid and genuinely painful when you run into it. You created the most compelling antagonist, yourself, in disguise.
That reminds me of that Rilke line about dragons maybe being princesses.
Yes. Rainer Maria Rilke's letter. Perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act just once with beauty and courage.
How does that connect here?
The source uses it to say the dragon, the scary situation, the difficult person, the fear itself is actually a manifestation of your own unacknowledged power or your vulnerability or your fear wearing a scary mask.
It's something helpless that actually wants our love or attention.
That's the idea. The fear, the courage needed to face it, the dragon itself, It's all you. You're playing every single role in this incredibly elaborate one-person show, and you've completely bought into the drama you wrote.
So the shift happens when you stop seeing the dragon purely as an external enemy.
And recognize it, even just intellectually at first, as another masked aspect of yourself. The whole dynamic changes. It stops being just a scary threat and becomes, well, a profound opportunity for recognizing your own creation.
Okay, maintaining this illusion of separation, this solid feeling dream. The five senses we usually talk about must be key players, right? Like special effects.
Absolutely. They're the primary tools. But the sources emphasize we've kind of forgotten or downgraded two other radical senses that actually work to dissolve the very boundaries the ego works so hard to maintain.
Okay, what are they?
First one, breath. We usually just think of it physiologically, right? Gotta breathe to live.
Yeah, automatic. Don't think about it much.
But the essay argues it's much more. It's a continuous sensing of the boundary between inside and outside dissolving. Every single breath is an experience of that line blurring.
How so? The air comes in, goes out.
Think about the air you just exhaled.
Yeah.
The nitrogen atoms, the oxygen. Moments ago, they were inside you. Now, they're out there mixing with the air everyone else is breathing.
Or literally sharing the same air molecules that maybe dinosaurs breathe.
Exactly. We're participating in this vast atmospheric commons. The idea of a hard boundary around your body is exposed as fictional by the simple, constant act of breathing. The atmosphere isn't just out there, it's intimately part of us, an extended body.
Wow, okay, that's profound. The separation is just a concept because the physical reality of breath is constant exchange, constant merging.
Right. The second forgotten sense, voice.
Not just hearing, but using our voice.
Yeah, the act of speaking, not just passively taking in sound, but actively sculpting the shared air into meaning. The sources suggest we're kind of echolocating.
Echolocating, like bats.
Sort of. We echolocate through emotional space with every conversation, every joke, every argument. We send out a ping, an idea, a feeling expressed, and we sense the shape of the intersubjective reality by the echo we get back.
We're constantly asking, does this land? Do you see it like I see it? Are we on the same page here?
Exactly. And conflict or dissonance arises when the ego sends out its ping, expecting a very specific echo confirmation of its map, its story, and gets back something different.
And then the ego gets angry at the echo.
Right. Instead of doing what a bat does, recognizing the echo is new information and adjusting its flight path, updating its map, the ego argues with the echo, tries to force reality to match its outdated map.
So the practice is to listen to the echo and update the map, not yell at the wall.
That's the idea. Use the dissonance as information.
Okay, so breath and voice dissolve boundaries. What about the classic five? How do they maintain the separation?
They're the masters of illusion. Vision is the prime culprit for creating distance. The powerful sense that the world is out there, separate from the me in here looking out.
Hearing reinforces that sounds arrive from somewhere else, vibration traveling through space to reach me.
And touch is the ultimate border patrol, right? It defines exactly where me stops and not me begins. When I touch the table, I feel it there.
But what about that classic test, grabbing your own hand?
Ah, yes. Where's the boundary then? Who is touching and who is being touched? The sensation dissolves into this reciprocal loop, pure, happening, no clean subject-object split. It reveals the feedback loop.
And taste. That seems like a clear boundary crosser.
It's fascinating. It's the threshold where not me explicitly becomes me. Think about eating an apple. When does it stop being apple and start being you?
Biting, chewing, swallowing, digesting, there's no single point.
Exactly. It's a gradient, a dissolving process from external object to internal experience and substance. Seamless integration, really, when you look closely.
These ideas about senses and perception,
Yeah.
they make more sense when you think about, well, substances,
Yeah.
chemicals.
Right. The sources call things like alcohol, coffee, even SSRIs, knobs on the same control panel.
Knobs that tune the receiver, adjust the frequency of you that you experience.
Something like that. Take alcohol. It doesn't magically create rage or sadness or bravery out of thin air.
It lowers inhibitions, right?
It lowers the volume on the ego's constant narrative generator. It dials down that inner critic, that self-monitoring function. And what was already present, but maybe suppressed, rushes in to fill the space.
They reveal how constructed, maybe flimsy, the everyday sense of self actually is.
Exactly. which loops back to William James, the psychologist, studying mystical states way back.
What was his big conclusion?
He concluded that consciousness isn't produced by the brain like a factory making widgets, it's filtered by it,
Filtered, like a sieve.
or a reducing valve, as he called it. The brain takes this vast, infinite, maybe overwhelming awareness and constrains it, narrows it down into a manageable bandwidth.
The bandwidth called being a person who needs to buy milk and worry about paying taxes.
Precisely. It turns boundless being into Bob on a Tuesday morning. The valve is essential for navigating the world, for survival, but it definitely obscures the bigger picture.
It makes eternity feel like Tuesday. So the big question is, can we consciously adjust that valve? Widen the aperture a bit.
And that's where the sources make a really interesting leap connecting this to art, specifically filmmaking.
Directors like Kubrick, Tarkovsky,
hmm
Lynch, how do they fit in?
They're presented as masters of adjusting the collective valve, like
Yeah.
lucid dreamers who can manipulate the filter, change the angle of perception for the audience.
Through camera angles,
Yeah.
editing.
It's deeper than just technique. The camera angle isn't just showing you something, it's ontological. It dictates where awareness is placed, where the lens focuses, collective attention follows.
Can you give an example?
Think of that dolly zoom effect in Hitchcock's Vertigo, the simultaneous zoom in and track out. It doesn't just look weird, it actually induces a feeling of dissociation, of falling away in the viewer. It messes with your perceptual valve.
Or the Stargate sequence in 2001,
That's
Face
it.
Odyssey.
Right. It's not just depicting a journey. The overwhelming patterns of light and sound are designed to temporarily bypass the viewer's normal processing, the reducing valve. It induces a state closer to transcendence through sheer sensory overload.
So the film is the experience in a way.
Ugh.
The director is adjusting our consciousness filter.
Yeah, and the sources suggest the real masters, the true auteurs, are somehow permeable. They don't just impose their ego on the material. They allow the dream, maybe the collective unconscious, to dream through them.
So the work feels less constructed and more discovered, like it arrived fully formed.
Exactly. Inevitable. It shows a profound lucidity, an ability to navigate and shape the dream from within.
Okay, if filmmakers can adjust the angle of the dream, sometimes profoundly,
Hmm.
what about the modern digital world, our everyday media landscape?
Well, this is where the sources turn quite critical. If filmmakers were exploring adjusting the angle, the current digital environment, particularly social media, seems to have weaponized that ability.
Weaponized how?
The primary goal isn't meaning or exploration, it's engagement, keeping you scrolling, clicking, reacting.
And platforms like TikTok get singled out.
Yeah, for compressing experience into these hyper-fast short bursts. The rhythm itself actively prevents deeper reflection. It works against the reducing valve opening up or recalibrating.
Scroll, consume, tiny reactions, scroll again, there's no pause.
Exactly. That crucial breath between inputs, the space you need to integrate to let the echo settle, for the filter to maybe adjust, it gets deleted, we're just bombarded.
So the echoes just pile up, overlap into noise.
Pretty much. It prevents real self-correction or seeing things from a genuinely new angle.
And the algorithms driving this,
Mhm.
they learn our angle.
Right. Oh, yeah. They are incredibly efficient at learning your preferred narrative, your biases, your anxieties, your triggers, and then feeding you more of the same.
Yeah,
You like this angle, here's more of exactly this angle.
So the echo chamber isn't just about ideas, it's about perception itself. It hardens the boundaries of what you even can see or believe.
That's the argument. It reinforces your existing filter relentlessly. Instagram is a prime example of the shift, too.
How so?
It started more as sharing perception. Here's my coffee, my sunset. Now, it's often heavily geared towards seeking validation through metrics, likes, views. The content is designed to perform, to get a reaction that validates the ego. The actual experience being shared can become secondary.
And all this rapid reinforcement, this validation loop, it encourages what the sources call moat building.
Yeah, you get locked into your reinforced perspective. Okay, this is how reality works. I've got it figured out. And anything that contradicts that view isn't seen as potentially useful information.
It's seen as a threat, an
Ugh.
attack on your worldview, your identity.
Exactly, a threat to the stability of your carefully constructed narrative. We see it everywhere.
Political tribes, for sure. Aesthetic snobbery, my taste is objectively correct, even academic silos sometimes.
Spiritual materialism fits here too. All variations of the ego digging in its heels, refusing to adjust its angle, defending its moat.
This defensive strategy, this need for certainty, it's not new, is it? The sources bring in Charles Sanders Peirce, from the 1870s.
Yeah, his essay, The Fixation of Belief, it's startlingly relevant. He outlined 4 basic methods humans use to deal with the uncomfortable feeling of doubt to arrive at stable beliefs.
Okay, what are they?
Method 1, tenacity. Basically, stubbornness. I believe this, period. I'm ignoring any evidence to the contrary. Think of the hardcore conspiracy theorist, completely immune to facts.
What's the problem with that, according to Pierce?
It works fine in isolation, but it completely falls apart socially. As soon as you meet someone else holding the opposite belief with equal tenacity, it's just a stalemate. There's no resolution.
Okay, method 2.
Authority. This is huge. We outsource our belief finding to a trusted source, a church, a government, a scientific body, a charismatic leader, the science, a specific news outlet.
That creates consensus, which is useful.
It does. But Pierce points out different authorities inevitably contradict each other. Which one do you trust? And it requires suppressing your own doubts or individual inquiry if they clash with the authority.
Makes sense. Method 3.
A priori. This is believing what seems agreeable to reason or just, self-evident, things that feel intuitively right or logically sound, independent of specific experience.
That sounds pretty good, no. Relying on reason.
Pierce's critique here is sharp. He argues that what feels self-evident or reasonable is deeply shaped by culture, temperament, and even intellectual fashion. It's often just taste disguised as objective truth.
Can you give an example of that taste as truth?
Sure, think about economic theories. For a long time, certain free market principles felt self-evidently reasonable to many. Now, different models emphasizing regulation or social safety nets feel more reasonable to others. What seems logical is often influenced by underlying values and assumptions, which change over time. It's not pure objective reason.
Okay, so tenacity, authority, a priori. They all have flaws. What's method 4?
Science. And Pierce meant science in a broad sense as a method, not just a body of facts. Its key feature is holding beliefs provisionally. Beliefs are based on evidence and experience, and crucially, they are open to being revised or overturned by new evidence.
So it has built-in error correction, fallibilism.
Exactly. Being wrong isn't a disaster for the ego, it's just new data. It's the only method of the 4 designed to learn and adapt.
So connecting this back to the digital age.
Here's the danger the sources highlight. Our current algorithms, our social media ecosystems, they are practically engineered to reward methods 1, 2, and 3.
Oh.
They amplify tenacity, loudest, most certain voices get reach. They promote authority, verified accounts, established narratives. They thrive on a priori agreement within filter bubbles, showing you what your in-group already finds reasonable.
And method 4, uncertainty, nuance, changing your mind.
Punished. It doesn't generate clicks. Admitting you were wrong or that something is complex is framed as weakness or inconsistency. Certainty drives engagement. Doubt doesn't sell ads. The system is a giant fixation of belief machine, biased against the scientific method of knowing.
Wow, that's sobering. So how do we counteract this? How do we practice method 4 in this environment?
The sources offer a fascinating suggestion. Go back to the body. Use that forgotten sense, breath, as an embodied practice of method 4, as an epistemology, a way of knowing.
How would that work? Like a mini meditation?
Kind of. Think of it cycle by cycle. Inhale, take in the new information, the challenging viewpoint, the dissonant echo, without immediately rejecting it. Pause, hold it for a moment, resist the urge to instantly label it right or wrong, threat or ally. Exhale, consciously release the need for absolute certainty, the ego's grip on its narrative. Pause, rest briefly in that space of not knowing, that groundlessness, before the next input comes.
So you're using the physical rhythm of breathing to practice intellectual humility and openness, to resist fixation.
Exactly. Embodying fallibilism, one breath at a time.
Okay, this leads to a really thorny area, the ethics of non-duality. If, ultimately, we are all one, if it's all the same awareness dreaming.
Then why be nice? Why does empathy matter? Why shouldn't I just do whatever benefits my localization, since your localization is also me anyway?
Yeah. It's the loophole, isn't it?
So,
The one sometimes used by spiritual narcissists to justify behaving badly. Hey, it's all one, man, so your pain isn't really real and my actions don't matter.
it's a critical point to address, and the distinction the sources make is vital. You are not God in the sense of being the all-powerful sovereign creator who pulls all the strings.
Okay, what am I then?
You are how that underlying awareness experiences, forgetting it's that awareness. You're a specific viewpoint, a localization, a temporary node in the dream.
And other people. Other localizations.
They aren't just obstacles or background characters in your dream. They are essential reflections, mirrors. You literally cannot see your own face, your own blind spots without them.
So they're resistance. The person who annoys me or challenges me.
That's the dream showing you through that other exactly where you've drawn a boundary, what story you're protecting. Their otherness is a crucial function of the game, reflecting your own limits back to you.
This sounds like Martin Buber's idea. I thou versus I it.
Exactly. Most of the time, Buber said, we relate to others as its. Objects, tools, roles, obstacles, means to an end. The cashier, the annoying driver, the person whose validation we seek.
But an I thou relationship.
That's different. It's rare. It's recognizing the other person not as an object in your world, but as another subject, another center of experience, equally real. In that encounter, Buber said, a between space opens up.
Where the dream kind of recognizes itself from two angles at once.
Something like that. A moment of mutual recognition that transcends the objectification.
So empathy isn't about feeling sorry for some separate, unfortunate being.
It's more like the dream recognizing itself in a different configuration, feeling the texture of its own experience through another localization. And neuroscience seems to back this up as our default setting.
Mirror neurons.
Right. They fire both when you do something and when you see someone else do it. At a fundamental neurological level, the brain doesn't make a sharp distinction between self and other for action and observation.
So empathy is the default, and cruelty requires effort.
Cruelty requires actively suppressing that default mirroring. It requires building cognitive walls, dehumanizing the other, convincing yourself they are fundamentally not me and it in order to justify harmful actions. When those walls drop, the natural empathy tends to flood back in.
Okay, but let's circle back to the really tough cases. Chronic pain, severe trauma, systemic oppression. Saying suffering is optional or based on a narrative can sound incredibly dismissive, even cruel in those contexts.
Absolutely, and we have to tread very carefully here. The sources aren't saying the pain is imaginary or your fault. They draw a very sharp line, often borrowing from mindfulness teachers like Shinzen Young.
The line between pain and suffering.
Yes. Pain is the raw, physical, neurological sensation. It's the heat from the stove, the nerve signals from a damaged body part, the physiological stress response to threat. It's input, often undeniable, non-negotiable input.
And suffering.
Suffering is the secondary layer. It's the mental and emotional reaction to the pain. It's the story we tell about it. This shouldn't be happening. I can't stand this. Why me? My life is ruined. It's the resistance, the fighting against the reality of the pain.
So the formula they use is suffering, pain, X resistance.
Exactly. The argument isn't that you can eliminate the pain variable through sheer willpower, which would be naive or spiritual bypassing. The argument is that you can potentially reduce the resistance variable
By accepting the pain.
by changing your relationship to the pain, by meeting the raw sensation with less mental fight, less narrative elaboration. If resistance goes towards zero, meaning you stop the mental battle against the reality of the sensation, then mathematically, suffering also goes towards zero, even if the pain intensity remains.
It's about dropping the story about the pain, not pretending the pain isn't there.
Precisely. It's a radical acceptance of the present moment's sensations, however unpleasant, which connects to Viktor Frankl in Auschwitz.
His insight about the last human freedom.
Yes. He realized that even when everything external is stripped away, freedom, dignity, health, the one thing that cannot be taken is the ability to choose one's attitude toward those conditions.
You can't think away the concentration camp, but you can shift how you relate to the experience internally.
And the core shift, these sources argue, is from this horrible thing is happening to me, which centers a victimized ego, to this difficult experience is happening as me, acknowledging it as the current texture of awareness without the additional story of personal victimhood.
That shift from to me to I as me, that's the crux of reducing the resistance.
That's presented as the fundamental lever we have, even in the face of the unchangeable. It's the difference, as they say, between drowning in the waves and learning to swim or surf them. Same water, different relationship.
Okay, so we've gone through the metaphysics, the ego's role, the ethics. The natural next question is, where does this all lead? Is there a goal, an endpoint, a secret level where we finally escape the game?
Yeah, the human mind loves looking for the exit ramp, the happily ever after, the, okay, I did the work, now I get my enlightenment certificate and permanent bliss.
But the source material basically says, no.
Pretty much, it's adamant. There is no beyond, there's no meta-reality you escape to, because this right here, the dreaming, the forgetting, the remembering, the stubbed toes, the moments of clarity, This is it.
There's only nothingness expressing itself as everything, which includes traffic jams and paying bills.
Exactly. The Upanishads nailed it thousands of years ago. Tat tivam asi. Thou art that. You are the reality you're seeking.
But you're not moving toward enlightenment.
You are enlightenment pretending, very convincingly, to be a seeker who hasn't found it yet. The seeking itself, the feeling of separation, was the only thing obscuring the that which was always already here.
That reminds me of the Zen ox herding pictures, the journey to find and tame the self.
And the final picture isn't the student levitating on a cloud. It's the student returning to the marketplace, back to ordinary life.
Looking the same on the outside, maybe? Same world, same activities.
But the experiencing has fundamentally shifted. The relationship to it all is different. There's no external reward, no heaven realm unlocked. The reward is realizing the ordinary, messy marketplace was the sacred space all along.
Which leads directly to the ego's last stand.
Ugh.
The question everyone listening is probably screaming internally right now.
Which is?
Okay, great. Thanks for the mind-bending philosophy. What the hell am I supposed to do with this?
Yes. The demand for practical application. The how does this help me pay the mortgage or deal with my annoying boss
Look,
question.
it's a fair question, though, isn't it?
It's a very human question, but notice the energy behind it. It's the ego grasping, trying to turn this insight into another tool for control, for self-improvement, for getting somewhere better. It wants to package it. 5 easy steps to realize your God and manifest a parking spot.
So what's the answer? The non-ego answer.
Well, the uncomfortable, maybe deeply unsatisfying answer for the ego is, this insight doesn't really give you a new tool. In a way, it takes things away.
Takes what away?
The belief in guaranteed progress towards some final destination, the idea that there's an arrival point where everything clicks into place permanently and suffering ends forever. It pulls the rug out from under the idea of linear spiritual achievement.
So, no final destination, just
It's this ongoing process. The practice, then, isn't about achieving a final state, but about changing how you relate to the process itself, developing a lighter touch, as the sources say.
A lighter touch. Bow how?
You still get the job or lose the job. You still grieve the loss. You still pay the taxes. The dream continues with all its textures. But maybe occasionally, right in the middle of a really serious, stressful, frustrating moment,
Yeah.
you catch a flicker, a tiny gap in the story, a moment of recognition. Oh, right, I'm making this feeling of seriousness up right now. This drama, it's being generated. We're all just making it up as we go along.
And in that flicker, the pressure drops. Just a little.
Maybe just enough to let a little space, a little lightness in. Maybe enough to see the absurdity alongside the pain. Maybe enough to even laugh.
Laugh at suffering.
Not necessarily at the pain itself, but at the cosmic joke of it all. Laugh, not because none of it matters, but because it all matters so much, precisely because it's not ultimately fixed or mandated by some external force. We get to imbue it with meaning.
So the choice to keep playing knowing it's a game, that's the point.
That's framed as the most profound act, an act of love almost. You, the generative nothingness, choosing to keep manifesting the wrinkles, the plot twists, the challenges, just for the sheer incredible experience of it all.
Let's bring it back home one last time. 3 a.m. The toe meets the bed frame. Crunch.
That blinding, immediate pain. But before the ego script kicks in, idiot, why me? This always happens, just for a nanosecond.
Good show.
Painting, raw sensation, no story, no sufferer, just pure, undiluted intensity appearing in awareness.
And if you can catch that gap, you might realize
That the pain is appearing within the vast silent space of awareness. It's not happening to the awareness. The awareness itself, the space, is untouched. Like the screen on which a scary movie is playing. The screen isn't harmed by the monster.
So you are not the toe. You are not the pain. You are not even the localized awareness of the pain.
You are the dreaming itself. The whole dynamic process of forgetting and remembering, separating and unifying, stubbing your toe and cursing, and maybe, just maybe, catching a glimpse of the dreamer behind the dream and choosing to play on.
Wow. Okay, so the game just continues. But maybe knowing it's a game changes how we play.
Changes everything and nothing all at once. The core takeaway seems clear. The remembering and the forgetting are both essential parts of the game. You are that wrinkle that chose complexity over simplicity.
The source material ends by mentioning the Tibetan Bardo Thodol, the Book of the Dead, that guide for navigating the after-death state.
Right. And in that Bardo state, the teachings say you encounter these terrifying, wrathful deities, monsters, demons.
But they aren't external entities.
No. They are your own unacknowledged fears, aggressions, traumas, your shadow aspects wearing scary masks. If you recognize them, realize, that's just another face of me, they dissolve back into light.
But if you react with fear, if you believe they're separate and threatening, and you run,
They chase you, their power over you solidifies, and they influence your trajectory into the next cycle, the next life, the next pattern of suffering. Recognition is the key.
so that brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the listener, to take away.
Building on that Bardo idea, what wrathful deity is showing up in your daily life right now?
Not a literal monster, but maybe a person who triggers you intensely. A recurring problem that feels overwhelming. A compulsion you can't shake.
What difficult, scary other in your life might just be waiting to be recognized as simply another face of yourself? What happens if you stop running and face it with that recognition?
The game continues. You're still playing. Right here, right now.
We've given you the starting point, the first clue in this intriguing mystery. Now it's your turn to take the reins. Head over to kindredsoulsearch.com and see what you uncover. What could Kindred Soul Search mean to you? Maybe jot down your thoughts, your impressions. Consider this deep dive your launch pad, the first step on a journey of discovery.